Alright fellas, here we're back in Pokemon Masters, and I'm going to be doing a little video here for my predictions for the 4.5 anniversary, putting some ideas out there, you know, kindling some thoughts and whatnot. So yeah, I figured may as well go ahead and jump into it. So obviously we got our run-up starting on the 19th, which included the three Aether Family Master Fairs, right? With Signature Gladion, Anniversary Lily, and Signature Lusamine. And then of course we got Signature Steven today, for whatever reason. Which was interesting for sure. Definitely a very hype run-up in terms of, like, releases, right? Gladion's good. Lily and Lusamine are not really all that fantastic, for sure, but, I mean, their EX rolls are nice. Signature Steven's very hype, 100%. That's his rerun, I mean. Riley, of course, and the events, etc., etc. So, when it comes to the anniversary itself, though, something that people have been trying to claim as evidence, I feel shouldn't be trying to claim as evidence, is the last week of Stadium. Sometimes this does correlate to the anniversary, but also sometimes it doesn't. So, if you would see Gladion, Lusamine, and Lily's release dates here between the 19th and the 23rd here, from Monday to Friday of this week, right now, because it's Sunday for me, so I guess last week if you live in, you know, any time zone where it's not still like the 25th, you'll know that obviously a Fairy, Ghost, and Psychic Week Sync pair, we didn't have their weaknesses this week. We have Dragon, Steel, Ground, Electric, and Bug. For whatever reason, I don't know why they opted to do it like this, but they did. We've got this weakness, rotation, right? They opted to instead do it the next week. So tomorrow's reset for Stadium will include all of these weaknesses. The one for Gladion, Lusamine, and Lily. Not in that order. And then Fighting and Rock. So people are trying to claim that the weaknesses here, Fairy, Ghost, Psychic, Fighting, and Rock, are going to correlate to what the anniversary sync pairs could be. However it may work, right? Like a new Psychic type sync pair, Fighting, Rock, Ghost, Fairy, whatever it may be, right? I don't think that's the case. Because just for the simple fact that they would have very, very likely dropped these characters on their release dates, or on their Stadium weakness dates if it mattered, right? Like, why wouldn't you just swap out these three Stadium stages here for the others, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Also, people are obviously putting forth the thought of Koraidon and Miraidon, and they're using the fighting weakness here as evidence for bringing in Koraidon. Sure, but then why wouldn't you bring in Electric and probably Dragon week, right? Because obviously they're both dragons, one's fighting, one's electric. Why wouldn't you bring in your fighting dragon and electric weaknesses on the last week, on the week they'll be debuting? I feel that it's far more likely that they'll be dropping the Stadium weaknesses for whatever legendaries, or sorry, sync pairs, rather, whatever sync pairs we get for the anniversary on the week of March 4th to March 10th. Because I don't have an infographic pulled up of last anniversary, but if I remember right, the first sync pair drops on the 28th. So it'll be dropping on the 28th, the next sync pair will drop on the 1st, and then the last sync pair will drop on the 3rd. That'll be on a Wednesday, a Friday, and a Sunday. So I feel it'd be a little bit more logical to then just push that Stadium weaknesses, the Stadium weaknesses for those characters out to this week instead, and it would just make more sense because of course they also don't want to spoil the potential like anniversary options and whatnot. They've been very good at keeping it secret and whatnot, right? So do keep that in mind, all that stuff and whatnot, right? So I feel like they would put the Stadium weaknesses for March 4th to March 10th instead of using this Stadium weakness here, because half of them are already reserved for Gladion and his family, right? So keep that in mind. I don't know. I forgot why I had this the run-up trailer here pulled up, but either way, yeah, there you go. Nice Gladion stuff. So let's go into my actual predictions. First of all, I think that there is a realistic likelihood of bringing in Seline and Elio. I don't want it. I also think it's the least likely option. Maybe not least likely, but definitely not, and preferably not, the option I would actually want to see, right? So, Elio and Seline, it's two characters. It makes sense because Gladion is, of course, potentially taking up a Master Fair slot for one of the 3 anniversary headlining Master Fairs. So, Elio and Seline now being able to be the other two would make sense, right? Triple ALOLA. But what I don't believe is that, I just don't believe it'll happen. Elio and Seline are not unhyped protagonists, but granted, they've also not gotten anything in the game for 4.5 years, other than their release, right? So, it's kind of sad, right? I don't know, I forget when they released. It was probably what? It was in between the 1st and 2nd anniversaries. I think it was like around the 1.5 anniversary. and they haven't gotten a single alt since, other than their variety scouts, right? I don't think that they would try to now promote them as the anniversary headliners, just because ALOLA hype isn't really massive anymore, outside of obviously, you know, your characters like Lily and whatnot, right? All those characters, Lily's gonna remain hype and whatnot forever, but like Elia and Seline specifically, I just don't see them happening. I at least not right now. Obviously, ALOLA Neo Champions, I will expect them to get alts at that point, but I don't feel we'll be getting ALOLA Neo Champions now. I think they're going to save that for later. They want to bring something in for, or provide something on the Pokemon Presents, which will be dropping on Tuesday, right? We'll be getting the data mine after that, or sorry, before that, but whatever. We'll be getting the Pokemon Presents on the day afterwards, which they'll be trying to use to bring in new players into the game. Obviously, they'll probably promote the 100 free sync pairs, maybe promote Gladion and whatnot, but of course, they'll also provide the new 2, 3, however many anniversary sync pairs that we are going to be getting. So I feel that they want to use something that's good, that's more hype now than like Elio and Seline and whatever they may use for these characters. So I feel that these two are probably the most unlikely options out of the likeliest options, if that makes sense. Another thought that just kind of like went into my head was potentially doing Neona and Penny alts. Already, yes. They're both Scarlet and Violet characters. Scarlet and Violet hype season is very, very strong still, obviously. So if you were to bring in hype characters from Scarlet and Violet, or alts rather from for characters from Scarlet and Violet, like, you know, Signet Suit, Neona, and Penny, just for example, because we already do have both of them in the game, then that could be extremely hype for anyone who may want to start joining Pokemon Masters. What Pokemon could they get? I don't know. They could literally throw anything in there and it would be pretty hype, right? Like Neona could get pretty much anything because she literally can train and make anything strong, right? Doesn't really matter. You could bring in her starter, you could bring in one of her team members, you could bring in something completely random that doesn't even make sense, like one of the Ruinous Quartet. Doesn't matter. Penny probably would get an evolution, right? Her whole team is consistent of EVs, but he could be something else entirely as well. It would be, I don't know. Either way, I just threw this idea out here. I don't think it's the most likely option either, but I could definitely see, you know, Neona and Penny potentially getting alts right now, soon for sure, just to continue the Galar hype season, or not Galar, Paldea hype season, right? So I think that they are also potentially likely options. Outside of that, I also think Volo might come. I doubt it. I think he's out of all these options, probably less likely than Elia and Seline, if I'm being honest. But I could see there potentially being room to argue that they would bring in Merchant Volo for the 4.5 anniversary and then wait and bring in Pokemon Wielder Volo later. So obviously this first Volo would very, very not likely, unlikely to have Giratina, right? That's probably what people are mostly expecting is Volo and Giratina. But for this, you know, if he were to debut before, whenever he debuts in the future, I feel that he would debut probably at the 4.5 anniversary with something random, probably on his team, right? Like, you know, Togekiss is obviously the most likely option, sadly. But also his entire team, right? Like Garchomp, Hisuian Arcanine, I think they have some likelihood as well, being hype Pokemon in themselves as well. So there you go. Volo, potentially could see him coming, but I honestly don't think so. Just the leading theory is like, or a theory rather, is that he would drop for the 4.5 and then also drop for the 5th anniversary 4.5 just to build up more in the Mysterious Stones chapter, which is not done. By the way, it's not even close to done. If you think that arc is going to conclude, if you think that arc's going to conclude for the 4.5 anniversary, I think you're expecting a little bit too much. I don't know. They started building it up very recently, and they're definitely building it up bigger and bigger every month. So I don't know why they would just, you know, cut it short and finish it here and debut everything for the 4.5. I don't see that happening at all. But I mean, for like potentially bringing in Merchant Volo to coincide with the Mysterious Stones chapter, bringing him in a little bit early, and you know, building him up in the story a little bit before, you know, the climax of that chapter, I could potentially see that happening for sure. And of course, probably the most likely option is Arvin and the 3 professors. 2 professors. 2 professors and Arvin, right? I don't know. This is the theory that I am currently really advocating for, not only because I think it makes sense, but also because I am fucking begging, please. Arvin, I think, would be a Pokefair. I'm being honest. I think Arvin would be a Pokefair character with whatever his team may be. Right, Mabastiff would make a lot of sense for sure. But of course, obviously he's got his entire party. But Mabastiff would make the most sense. But then of course the professors would be the leading master fairs. Right. There's obviously the theory going around that we're going to only have 2 headlining anniversary sync pairs because Gladion would take up a slot for one of them. So instead of 3, it will be 2. There's still the possibility they would just give us 3 new Master Fairs anyway, but of course I could definitely see that being a potential stone to build the theory of bringing in Turo and Sada in order to actually have those 2 anniversary headliners with 2 very hype Pokemon, obviously being the Koraidon and Miraidon, right, with whatever they got. You know, it could be the AI, it could be the alive versions of these professors. Don't know, don't really care. I just want these characters in the game, personally. And I think they do make a lot of sense, because my biggest theory right now with this is that, for one, obviously we don't have the Paldea theme skill. It's not around at all, and we do need to get the theme skill sometime soon, because we have 4 Paldea characters in the game right now, and there is no theme skill. There was only 3 Galar characters around when we actually got the Galar theme skill, which I think Leon introduced. I don't know. But either way, we do need that theme skill sooner rather than later. So of course debuting it during the 4.5 anniversary with the release of potentially Arvin and his family would make sense to me. That makes plenty of sense. Second thing about it is that Gladion, Lily, and Lusamine are 3 ALOLA characters, sure, but they're also a family. Mother, son, and daughter, right? So I feel that instead of having an ALOLA-themed anniversary like what people have been thinking about with Elio and Seline, right? I'm just sure I'll just close out of all this. I'll also close out all these tabs, because good night, dude. Either way, I think that the leading theory that people have would potentially be ALOLA because of Gladion, and I guess Lily and Lusamine by extension, right? He would be leading into an ALOLA anniversary, but I think that the most likely option is that Gladion is leading into a family anniversary. These are 3 family characters, and the main story event around Signature Gladion, if you have not watched it or read it, whatever, go do that. If you don't care, fair enough, is that it was Gladion trying to find Magirna's family. Gladion knows what it's like to be mostly in solitude, right? Lusamine wasn't the best mother in the Ultra games, of course, and obviously, you know, atone for that for the most part, but like that's the big thing, is that like Gladion knows what it's like to be away from family, have family struggles, whatever it may be, and that was kind of the story, or the moral of the story event, was that Gladion knows how Magirna feels, or is, you know, dedicated to helping Magirna find its family, right? So having that family story event then makes sense, because you would then lead up into another family type of story event for the 4.5 anniversary, centering around, instead of Gladion's family, Arvin's family, with the professors Turo and Sada here. Again, this is my personal theory of what is going to happen, but of course I have had horrible. I definitely don't have the greatest track record and whatnot, right, with predicting the 4th year, the 3.5. I didn't do good on those at all, so if anything, I'm kind of cursing these 3 to potentially not happen, just because I am so bad at guessing that I feel like fate itself is saying, hey, this ain't gonna happen because you want it to happen, right? No, I'm kidding, I'm not that narcissistic. Either way, though, I do hope that these 3 come for sure. Yeah, for the 4.5 anniversary, I would rather be these over pretty much anything else. Could also potentially see the protagonists, Juliana and Florian, bring in Koraidon and Miraidon as well, instead of being Sada and Turo. Worst timeline in my opinion, but definitely still the same overall aspect. Would be bringing in the legendaries, bringing in the Paldea characters, Paldea theme skill, Paldea Master Fair, all that stuff, right? So I mean, it would have pretty much the same effect, just with different characters, I guess. So yeah, I mean, that's my overall thoughts, I would say. Let me know what you want for the 4.5 anniversary. Let me know what you think is going to actually happen. There's some other things I didn't go over, like Neo Champion Hoenn. You know, that could be just completely random and just throw out Neo Champion Hoenn for literally no reason. Could happen, could not happen. They could also throw in 3 random characters like the 2.5 and the 2-year anniversaries, where they had no correlation, but they were just 3 hype characters with some hype Pokemon, and just said, hey, here you go. They could do that as well, right? We never know, right? There's always the chance of pretty much anything happening. But I think, just given everything that kind of makes sense to me, I feel that these 3 could potentially be our anniversary characters. These 2 being the headliners, Arvin potentially being at Pokefair. Makes sense to me. Either way, yeah. I'll see y'all later. Hope y'all enjoyed. Let me know what you think is going to be coming for the 4.5 anniversary down in the comments below, and I will see you all later.